All right, in the 14-year tenure of the Houston Texans, who are the top 5 of all time? We're counting them down via Elliot Harrison's list. Arian Foster at number 5. Would he be higher on this list if he could have extended his time in Houston?
You bet, man. You bet. But when you talk about undrafted free agent running backs, who's better in NFL history than Arian Foster? Not much. What he was able to do in 2010, that whole little run from 2010 to 2012, this guy was as good as any back in pro football. I still love the way he glides, and he always knew the value of a 2 or 3 yard run, the way he would just fall forward. And I know that's a small thing. It doesn't make the highlight reels. It adds up. Fantastic player.
All right, number 4, Mario Williams, 6 years, 82 games, a Pro Bowler in 08 and 09. There you go. That's a setup. I
thought you were going to add something because I'll tell you what I thought you were going to tell me was a little bit of a risk when they took him. Remember, everybody wanted them to take Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
And when they took Mario Williams, our colleague, Charlie Casserly, Mark, he took some heat for that. But it was the right choice. Mario Williams helped the Texans build a good defense. And let's not forget that this team made the playoffs with that defense. They didn't go very far. They beat the Bengals a couple of years. But Mario Williams was a consistent player for the most part while in Houston. Like Foster, though, didn't have that long tenure there.
Well, you mentioned that draft where he was picked where he was, and I was one of those fans who thought, how do you pass on Reggie Bush? This is a no-question pick, but you look back at it in hindsight, I think it was where you start realizing, hey, it's not always about the flashiest player. It's about fit. It's about thinking long-term. Yeah, exactly, and that was obviously what the Texans' thinking was there. Moving on to Dwayne Brown at number 3, guy stellar on the offensive line, 8 years, 120 games.
Yeah, the thing with him is that we're talking about the best Texans ever, not the best guy to ever wear the uniform, okay? Dwayne Brown has tenure. He has consistency. He's been a solid NFL player for some time now. And to me, honestly, this was an easy choice, 3 Pro Bowls, by the way, 2012, 13, and 14. He does have a first-team All-Pro, which you like to see. He truly is one of the best players in Texans franchise history.
It's a short history, 14 years, as I mentioned, going back to 2002. But, man, you look at a player like this, a guy who's challenging to be on the NFL's all-time greatest list already in his young career.
Right, and look, it's tough to put a guy that's only played 5 years, but we're talking about the youngest organization in the league, and I don't think any of their fans would have a problem. Of course, this is going to make other teams' fans be like, hey.
The problem they might have is that he's not number 1.
Right. J.J. Watt, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. Only Lawrence Taylor can claim that. That's pretty good company, and hey, he just keeps rolling on.
Is he going to win an MVP before his career's said and done?
I don't know. It depends how long his prime is. It's hard to compete with quarterbacks these days.
Speaking of prime, 1 is a prime number, and that's the spot Andre Johnson holds. Just consistently productive, and you look at the guys throwing him the football, too. It wasn't like he had Joe Montana back there slinging the rock around.
Now, hey, Sage Rosenfeld.
This is true.
All right, I tell you what. David Carr, Sage Rosenfeld, Matt Schaub, played with a lot of different quarterbacks in his time, but I don't think you can argue with Andre Johnson, number 1, Mark. Not because I'm so smart, just because to me it's the obvious choice. Andre Johnson's a borderline. He's got everything. Yeah. He's got the numbers. He's a borderline Hall of Famer. He's been around much longer than J.J. Watt. Right now, J.J. Watt is fantastic, but J.J. Watt is going to have to do this for the next 5 years. I mean, Andre Johnson was fantastic for years. If J.J. Watt hung him up right now, he's not going to be better than Andre Johnson. I think people are forgotten because he didn't have a good year with the Colts, just how good Andre Johnson was.
You look at the numbers, 14,000 yards, 9th on the all-time list. That says it all.
Yeah, and can I say one thing about that? A lot of those yards came courtesy of David Carr. And let me tell you, David Carr, who's a colleague of mine, admittedly, but David Carr had big-time talent, and David Carr could play. Unfortunately for David Carr, the protection was never there, sacked 76 times one season. Remember how you and I talked about Ryan Tannehill getting sacked 58 times, like that was a huge number.
Yeah.
76!
Rough.
David Carr needed more. He took a beating, needed more help, could really play, and any GM would tell you that.
Hey, let's look at the top 5 all-time again, a recap. Hey, could DeAndre Hopkins sneak onto this list with some longevity?
You bet. When you talk about some of the Texans that didn't make the list, I think you have to look at some of the defensive players they've had in their past. But I like DeAndre Hopkins right now, man. You could talk about Odell Beckham all you want. DeAndre Hopkins is every bit as good, if you ask me. But I like the list we have right here.
I like it too. The Houston Texans, top 5.